Hello, we are going to tackling the Pilgrimage from HackTheBox. This is a fantastic machine for OSCP preparation because it forces you to move from black box testing, where you are guessing, to white box testing, where you have the source code. So we all start with the basic MF port scanning, MF min rate, and then the So first, as always, we start with a full port scan. So we found that two ports are opened, like port 22 SSH and port 80 HTTP. So we are going to look into this port further and map the port scripting, version detection, port 2280. It says the HTTP pilgrimage.htb did not follow redirect to, so by host and like this. So we can access this website at this stage. So this and HTTP pilgrimage saves space and shrink it. A free online image shrinker. Create an account to save your images. So at this stage we want to check the source code of this template more, whether there is vulnerability regarding this vulnerability. So template move is actually a static HTML and CSS template. There is no backend logic in a template, so we're going to navigate this website further, login and test, login failed, register, test. Oh, we navigate to dashboard and log out, and we can log in again, test. And then using verb suit we can take this endpoint proxy and intercept on. I think we can test, and I would like to take this repeater forward post. So it looks to be using PHP test, and again not found. And you can also navigate to home page and shrink, select choose a file. I think I can just take a screenshot, download, home, save, choose file, home, shrink. So then it will go to the shrunk file. I think I can copy and paste and navigate this. I can check the file which is all shrunk, and when I try to navigate it is 403 forbidden. So this is normal Nginx behavior. Directory listing is disabled. So I can find my specific file but not other people's file. So but at this stage you can check message, this like this. So maybe you can find like this. You can use local file inclusion. It does not execute or read it. At this stage we would like to use GoBuster for web enumeration. So GoBuster share wordlist, setlist, discovery, web content, web medium directories, .txt, extension. So we can find sh file and vendor and temp. So we can check this further, and we are going to check the temp folder. And maybe assets. And maybe vendor. Interestingly, I cannot navigate. At this stage we can use another word dictionary, common txt. So we found that /.git is returning 301 and git head 200, git config, git index looks to be accessible. So we successfully found the git directory, and that looks to be definitely our main path forward. But before we dive into these, we need to do one last piece: subdomain enumeration. It should be targeting the IP address and host. So should be our injection point, and I think I forgot to put this. This. Hmm. So we get nothing. So we now confirm that there are no hidden like subdomain things. This gives us confidence to focus on the Git directory that we have found. So we can go to the Git folder that we have found. Git. It also say 403 forbidden. So how do we download this head file at this stage? So this git head file, I think I can also try to navigate. Oh, head. I can download this. So at this stage, so we need to understand that Git is just a database of hashes. While the server blocks the list of files using directory, it usually allows us to access the specific file named head. The head file contains a hash pointing to the master branch. The branch file contains a hash pointing to the latest commit, and the commit points to a tree hash which lists the files. So we're going to use a tool called git-dumper. It automates this process by blindly following these hash chains, downloading the objects one by one, and reconstructing the file structure locally. So, and git clone git-dumper github, and clone this. Cd git-dumper pip install requirements. And we can first, you can like install requirements, this. So we can try to run git-dumper at this stage. And this should be our output directory. Perfect. So we see the standard web files like index.php, login.php. We can now audit this for logic plus, but look at this file, the magic. So we need to, I'd like to understand what this magic file is. File magic elf lsb executable. So it has no extension like exe or sh. So this looks to be Linux binary. So we can easily think of it as the Linux equivalent of an exe file on Windows. So we can find the ELF, which stands for executable and linkable format. It is the standard format for binaries on Linux, just like exe is for Windows. nsl magic. So it looks that we can also execute this file, and maybe we can find the version of the magic, like magic, like magic. Version. The version looks to be the image magic 7.1.0 hyphen 49. So we can check the vulnerability if there is vulnerability. Ubuntu. We can find this vulnerability, and we can look for this. Image magic is vulnerable to information disclosure. When it parses a PNG image for resize, the consulting image could have embedded the content of an arbitrary file if the magic binary has permissions to read it. And so it appears that information disclosure could be something we can investigate further. PNG the resulting image could have embedded content of an arbitrary file. So in the meantime, we can check for any keywords that we can find in this directory. I mean, not this, but something we have found. git-dumper here this one. So we can grab whether there is any SQL information. It says like DB new PDO SQLite. Looks to be using SQLite in HTB Pilgrimage. So let's break this down technically. So PDO stands for PHP Data Objects. Think of it as a universal adapter for databases. Whether the backend is MySQL, PostSQL, or SQLite, The developer writes PHP code using PDO, and PDO handles the translation. And SQLite confirms that the database engine is SQLite. This matters because if we bind on SQL injection later, you can use SQLite syntax. And the var db pilgrimage, this is the absolute path to the database file. Unlike MySQL, which runs as a service on a port, SQL is just a flat file sitting on the hard drive. So using image magic vulnerability, we can try to read this local file, and before this we can check the vulnerability regarding this. I think so, this one, but I like to use the this. I may want to try this one. cd image ls. So and poc py python poc p. So output will be positional arguments, like argument action should be generate, and output input output I think we can use the home this file as a like test and copy and paste here. So python 3 poc py generate, and input test output test output png, and read target file to read. So first, for test wise, you can try this, and I think this again. So we found this file again. So maybe we can try shrink this file here. test out. And we'll get this file. And next thing, POC py Python POC. We would like to parse this, so Python 3 parse. So hope we can see etc paths wd content there, test out. Python 3 parse test out. I think we need to parse another file, not this file but the one that we have just downloaded. Perfect. So we can successfully parse this. Now we can try to generate this file, this time like PDO, let's say, and the one that I want to read is this, and again output db test out PDO png file. So I'll also try to string this again, and get this again too. And what I'm going to do is parse this again, copy and paste. It says like UTF-8 codec cannot decode byte in position 99 error. So cannot decode byte. So it says like Unicode decode error. So so this issue looks to be expected, because like etc pass wd is a text file, so this script can work this. So if you look into this code, there should be UTF binary So var-db pilgrimage file is the binary file, unlike etc passability file. So there should be the issue to parse this binary file contained png file. At this stage we are going to exif 2. So we can search GitHub. This is the meta information reader. So we are going to read this file using this. So git clone. I think I can also navigate to this and git clone. So save 2. So in order to use this to extract the database better, we are going to use a Linux pipeline. So first of all, we can like exif2. I think you can just like exif2 and -b. So this stands for binary by the and then raw profile type is something that we wanted to parse. This one. I think this should be and we can just parse like this. So if you look at this, I think I can just like tail just like less, then first 4 lines looks to be so we can check if we copy and paste this, mm, and SQLite maybe. So 53514367. So if you look into this as a hex code, hex to string, like 553 convert S and 51 Q and 4C L 69 I. So it looks like SQLite they are mentioning, so we can assume that we can make this from here. So tail for less, then we can check this from here. So when we check this code again, so tail plus 4 and translate and delete every line with every single new line character, and then pipe xxd. xxd is a hex manipulation tool, and hyphen r flag tells it to reverse the process, turn this hex text back into raw compiled binary bytes, and hyphen p tells it to expect a plain hex string without any row numbers or formatting, and stolen.db. Perfect. So before this, I like to check the Python file again. Python file here. So when you check like decode, by default Python decodes data into UTF-8, which is the standard encoding for human readable text. So it is working for etc passwd, but a binary file like database use every single byte combination from 00 to FF to represent structured data, file headers, and machine instructions. So it can throw a Unicode decode error and kills the script to protect itself. So tail, I think tail hyphen n plus 4 should be like so if you use this command, we can read from the fourth line. So maybe you can just try like this. We can read from the fourth line. So I like to check this stolen db file now. So I like to SQLite 3 stolen db and dot tables. You can find the user table, so select from users, and we have Emily with this password. I think this should be this something that we have registered. So run new command. We can SSH to Emily potentially. Yes, perfect. So we can find that we are in the Emily shell, and at this stage I would like to run the limpias for further investigation. Limpias github. So I like to download this file. So I think tmox stage Emily and then we can like this for visibility and download this limpias file. Should be this wget python and move to temp folder. And run this command. Password for Emily, we can So we can review this limpias file, see anyway. So we can check this system information. There looks to be interesting in bash user malware scan file. It's opened. So when we review the service and service files, the malware scan file that we checked, it says like run as root, service runs as a root. Maybe potentially we can check this file, malware scan. So it looks to be in this location. We can also store L. In the meantime, we can save and check this. Emily might not run on sudo, and we can check this file again. Read. We have read permission. We can read this too. I notify wait. So when you check the I notify wait in Firefox, so I notify if fish wait for changes to files using I notify, efficiently waits for changes to files using Linux I notify interface. It is suitable for waiting for changes to files from shell script. It looks like a cron job, something like this. It can either exit once an event occurs or continuously execute and output events as they occur. So we can try to find this flag as well. So -m is monitor. Instead of exiting after receiving a single event, execute indefinitely. The default behavior is to exit after first event occurs. So it may be also running now as well. And -e event, listen for specific events only. These events which can be listened for are listed in the events section. This option can be specified more than once. If omitted, all events are listened for. And the event looks to be the create event. So there's event create. A file or directory was created within a watchit directory. So, and the shrunk folder looks to be the place where the picture files were stored. So it waits for the event and do file name should be shrunk and user bin echo file. Tail and so since we can access this folder, we can also try to replicate this. So we can, so as it is currently running, so maybe we can also and I can just copy and paste the in case. So I can enter. So what I'm going to do is I can create the picture file there. I can upload technically. So here upload, I can upload this shrink. So I think I can execute this. Before this, we can also check for code further. So we notice that something happens when the picture file is generated here, and then it must be like something like formatting stuff and pinwork. What is, we can also check what pinwork is. Maybe pinwork, there could be pinwork menu Linux, Kali Linux tool. So pinwork is a tool for searching a given binary image for embedded files and executable code. Specifically, it is designed for identifying files and code embedded inside the former image. Pinwork uses the libmagic library, so it is compatible with magic signatures created for the Unix file utility. So it is identifying files and code embedded inside the firmware images it is for. So, and then we can, if you look for this like maybe we can look for pinwork homepage. Identify, optional extract, files and data have been embedded. So we can also use a local bin walk. What this e flag means by flag e. I think I can just like extract, so it automatically extract known file types. So it extracts this, and then so we understand that this script is running as a root, and that executes and extract the file with like bin walk. So we can try to replicate this. So if we go this and try to upload this, test shrink, so it will get uploaded. ls. Oh, this looks to be the new file. And we can also inode using this. What is established? I can upload one more again. Shrink. And then it says like create and something like this. What I'm going to do is read file. What should be the file name with this? So we have found this and use this. And echo and this one. I think we can. And create p. So the file name will be like this. So it extracts the file like this, and this should be the bin out, and this extracted information is blacklisted. Then it looks to be removed and break. So but the extraction process will be performed in advance, so we can also use this skill, use this script file. And additionally, we can also check for inotify wait vulnerability. I cannot locate, but when it comes to binwalk, there looks to be vulnerability regarding this. This one, I think this one is not vulnerability, but so GitHub vulnerabilities. When binwalk is run in extraction mode. So potentially we can also use vulnerability regarding this, since -e extraction mode is used. But before this, we can less and version. But we can find that even if you don't know the version, like it is written already, and 2.3.2 looks to be affected by this vulnerability, and we can use this. We can try to use this. So SSH input.png. So at this stage we can also create this and clone so at this stage I would like to generate an exploit for SSH. So arguments file path to the input, path to the public key file. So SSH input, and we can transfer this like key. Then we can generate a new SSH key pair. So this has been created. So what you're going to do is Python so I like to use SSH, and I can just copy and paste the test file here again. Working path test. So we now have binwork exploit.png, which looks like an image but hidden carries a hidden payload. So at this stage we can also transfer this to, I like to transfer this couldn't specify, and if I copy and paste to the shrunk folder, there should be iNotify and binwork will extract this information. So cp binwork so if the extraction was successful, we can use the root key to so we can find the root shell now. So we found an exposed git directory, so and found the logic flaw in image magic vulnerability to read the local SQLite database and crack Emily's password. And we also identified a custom script, the malware scan, running as root and with the vulnerable version of binwork. So thank you for watching this walkthrough and see you soon.